A billionaire bought a wife for his spoiled son, but the son smiled quietly because he already had a plan. Everyone in Lagos knew the name Chief Abena Akafor. He was not just rich, he was powerful. Banks feared him, politicians respected him, business rivals avoided his shadow. But inside his giant glass mansion, Chief Abena had one problem money could not fix: his only son, Damalola Akafor. Damie was 26 years old, handsome, educated abroad, and completely spoiled. He had never struggled for anything. Cars arrived before he asked. Money followed him like air. Mistakes were covered up quietly. But what worried Chief Abena most was not Damie's laziness. It was his disrespect. He disrespected elders. He laughed at poor people. He treated women like toys. Every relationship he entered ended badly. Broken hearts, scandals, shame. One evening, after another report of Damie embarrassing the family at a party, Chief Abena slammed his fist on the table. "Enough," he shouted. "This boy will destroy my legacy." His advisors exchanged nervous looks. "Sir," one of them said carefully, "maybe marriage will calm him." Chief Abena froze. Marriage. That was it. In their culture, marriage was not just love. It was responsibility. It forced a man to grow. "I will choose a wife for him," Chief Abena said firmly. "A good woman, quiet, respectful. Someone who will straighten him." And so, without asking his son, Chief Abena made a decision that shocked everyone. He would buy a wife, not with chains, not with force, but with money, influence, and promises. Across the city, in a small town far from luxury, lived a young woman named Zainab Musa. Zainab was 23. She sold fruits in the morning and helped her aunt sew clothes in the evening. Her hands were rough from work. Her heart was soft from patience. Life had never been kind to her. Her father had died early. Her mother was sick. Every day was a struggle. But Zainab carried herself with dignity. She believed suffering did not mean losing self-respect. One afternoon, a black SUV stopped near her fruit stand. Men in suits stepped out. People stared. Zainab felt fear crawl into her chest. One man approached her gently. "Are you Zainab Musa?" "Yes," she answered, her voice shaking. "Our boss wants to speak with you." She thought she was in trouble. Instead, she was taken to a quiet office where Chief Abena Akafor sat, calm and powerful. He looked at her for a long moment. "You are poor," he said plainly. Zainab lowered her eyes. "Yes, sir. You are honest," he asked. "I try to be," she replied. "You will marry my son," Chief Abena said. "In return, your mother will get medical care, your family will live comfortably, and you will never lack." Zainab's heart raced. Marry a man she had never met, a billionaire's son. Her mind screamed no, but her mother's weak cough echoed in her ears. She asked one question. "Will I be respected?" Chief Abena paused. "You will be his wife," he said. "That is enough," Zainab agreed. 2 weeks later, the wedding happened quietly. No love, no romance, just signatures, witnesses, and a heavy silence. When Damalola first saw Zainab, he laughed. "This," he scoffed. "Father, you bought me a village girl?" Zainab said nothing. She bowed her head, but inside her something was awake. That night, as Damie walked around the mansion, complaining and mocking, he didn't notice Zainab observing everything quietly. He didn't know she was listening. He didn't know she was learning. And he definitely didn't know Zainab had her own plan. A plan that would teach Damalola Akafor a lesson money never could. Damalola thought he had married a weak woman. But what he didn't know was this: Zainab did not come to enjoy wealth. She came to change a man. Damalola Akafor believed marriage would change nothing. On the first morning after the wedding, he woke up late, stretched lazily, and checked his phone. Messages from friends filled the screen: party invitations, jokes, and mocking comments about his arranged village wife. He smiled. "This will be fun," he muttered. Downstairs, the mansion buzzed quietly. Maids moved carefully. Security guards stood alert. Everything looked the same as before except Zainab. She was already awake. She stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, helping an old housekeeper cut vegetables. She listened more than she spoke. She asked small questions. She thanked people. She noticed how things worked. Damalola walked in, sunglasses on, confidence dripping from every step. "Why are you dressed like that?" he asked, annoyed. "You don't have to work here." Zainab turned calmly. "I want to learn the house," she said simply. Damalola laughed. "This house runs on money, not learning." She nodded. "I see." That answer confused him. Most women argued. She didn't. Later that day, Dame Alola threw a small party, music loud, drinks flowing. He wanted to show Zainab the world she had entered. "This is my life," he announced proudly. "Get used to it." Zainab stood quietly among the guests, watching. She saw how he treated the waiters, snapping fingers, shouting. She saw how he treated women, laughing, touching, careless. She saw how people pretended to like him because of his name. That night when the guests left, Dame Alola expected anger, tears, complaints. Instead, Zainab poured him water. "You must be tired," she said. He stared at her. "That's it," she smiled politely. "Good night." Dame Alola felt strangely uncomfortable. Days passed. Zainab did not demand shopping trips. She did not ask for jewelry. She did not post pictures online. Instead, she asked for something else. "May I help manage the household expenses?" she asked Chief Abana one afternoon. The billionaire raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "I want to understand responsibility," she said. Chief Abana agreed. That was the first mistake Dame Alola didn't notice. Zainab learned quickly. She saw how money disappeared, how staff were underpaid, how Dame Alola wasted thousands without blinking. Quietly, she began changing small things. Extra food was sent to staff families. Medical bills were covered without noise. Suppliers were paid on time. People noticed. "Madam has a good heart," the staff whispered. Dame Alola noticed too, but differently. Why did people respect her more than him? One evening, Dame Alola came home angry. His credit card had been declined. He stormed into the living room. "What nonsense is this?" Zainab looked up from a notebook. "I paused some accounts," she said calmly. "You what?" he shouted. "You overspent," she replied. "Your father asked me to track expenses." Dame Alola laughed loudly. "You think you can control me?" Zainab stood up slowly. "No," she said. "I think you've never controlled yourself." The room went silent. No woman had ever spoken to him like that. He raised his hand slightly, then stopped. Something in her eyes was not fear. It was certainty. That night, Dame Alola didn't sleep. For the first time, someone had not bowed to him. The next week, Zainab did something unexpected. She invited Dame Alola to visit her old neighborhood. He protested. "Why would I go there?" "Because you married me," she replied. "And this is where I come from." Reluctantly, he agreed, mostly to prove he was above it all. The roads were narrow, the houses were small, children played barefoot. Dame Alola felt uncomfortable. Then a woman approached Zainab and hugged her tightly. "You're back," she said. "Your mother is doing better." Dame Alola froze. He had never asked about Zainab's family. He watched as Zainab helped neighbors, listened to problems, shared food. People respected her, not because of money, but because of character. On the drive back, Dame Alola was quiet. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. Zainab looked out the window. "You never asked." That answer stayed with him. That night, Dame Alola sat alone in his room, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in his life, he felt something unfamiliar. Shame. But Zainab's plan was only beginning, because she hadn't come to be saved, she had come to teach. Dame Alola thought Zainab was slowly changing him. But what he didn't know was this. Zainab had one final lesson prepared, and it would force him to choose between pride and becoming a real man. Dame Alola Akaffer had never questioned his own life before. But now, questions followed him everywhere. Why did people obey him but not respect him? Why did Zainab speak softly yet carry such weight? Why did her silence feel louder than his anger? One morning, Dame Alola woke up earlier than usual. That alone shocked him. He walked downstairs and saw Zainab in the garden, trimming flowers with a maid. She wore a simple dress, no jewelry, no makeup. The sun reflected gently on her face. "You wake up early now?" she asked, noticing him. "I couldn't sleep," he replied honestly. She nodded as if she already knew. That same day, Zainab suggested something that made Dame Alola laugh at first. "I want you to work," she said. He nearly choked on his drink. "Work, I don't need to work." "I know," she replied calmly. "That's the problem," she explained her idea. For 1 month, Dame Alola would live without his name. No Akaffer privilege, no father's shadow, no instant respect. Chief Abana overheard the conversation. Instead of stopping it, he smiled faintly. "Let him try," the billionaire said. Dame Alola protested, but pride pushed him forward. "I'll prove I can survive anywhere," he said. Zainab only smiled. The next morning, Dame Alola wore simple clothes and left the mansion without security. No one bowed. No one opened doors for him. No one cared who he was. At a small logistics company, he asked for a job. The manager looked at him. "Do you have experience?" "No," Malola replied. "Then start in the warehouse," the man said. That was the moment Malola felt something crack inside him. The work was hard. Boxes were heavy. Sweat soaked his shirt. Supervisors shouted. By midday, his hands hurt. By evening, his pride hurt more. At home, he wanted to complain, but Zainab handed him water and said gently, "Rest. Tomorrow will be harder." And it was. Days passed. Malola learned what hunger felt like when lunch money ran out. He learned what disrespect felt like when supervisors ignored him. He learned what exhaustion felt like when his body begged him to stop. One night he sat on the floor, staring at his blistered hands. "I never knew," he whispered. Zainab sat beside him. "Now you do." 2 weeks into the experiment, something changed. Malola stopped shouting. He started listening. He began helping others at work. When a coworker's child fell sick, Malola shared his wages. He didn't even realize what he was doing until Zainab smiled at him that evening. "That smile," he said. "Why do you look proud?" "Because you're becoming someone," she replied. Malola swallowed hard. For the first time, he wanted to be worthy of respect, not just rich. Then came the day everything collapsed. A viral video surfaced online. It showed Malola carrying boxes in a warehouse. The caption read, "Billionaire's son reduced to laborer, marriage punishment." The internet exploded. Reporters camped outside the mansion. Social media mocked him. Business rivals laughed. Malola rushed home, panic in his eyes. "This is over," he said. "My life is ruined." Zainab looked at him carefully. "No," she said, "your image is ruined." "Not your life." Chief Abana called Malola into his office. For the first time, the billionaire did not look angry. He looked proud. "You learned more in 1 month than in 26 years, Chief Abana said. Malola broke down. "I'm sorry," he cried, "for everything." Zainab said nothing. Because the final lesson was still coming. The next morning, Zainab packed her bags. "I'm leaving," she said calmly. Malola froze. "Leaving? Why?" "Because change must be chosen," she replied. "Not forced." Malola's heart pounded. "What if I fail again?" he asked. Zainab looked at him, her eyes steady. "Then you stand up again," she said, "like everyone else." She walked toward the door. Malola dropped to his knees. "Stay," he begged. "Not because my father bought you, but because I want to become better with you." Zainab stopped. She turned slowly. And for the first time, she smiled like a wife. Malola thought winning Zainab's heart meant the story was over. But what he didn't know was this. The biggest test was coming next, and it would decide whether love could truly survive power. Malola Akafar thought asking Zainab to stay was the hardest thing he would ever do. He was wrong, because staying was easy, changing forever was not. After Zainab unpacked her bag and placed it back in the wardrobe, life in the Akafar mansion felt different. Not softer, not easier, just real. Zainab made one thing clear that night. "I did not come here to manage your image," she said calmly. "I came to see if you can build character." Malola nodded. "Tell me what to do." She shook her head. "No. You must choose," and that was the hardest part. The scandal did not disappear. Reporters kept calling. Business partners whispered. Old friends mocked him openly. At a charity gala, a wealthy guest laughed and said, "So you enjoy warehouse work now?" The old Malola would have exploded. Instead, he replied quietly, "I enjoy being useful." The room fell silent. Zainab watched from across the hall. That night she wrote something in her notebook. "First real step taken." Weeks later, Chief Abana announced a surprise. He was stepping back from one major company and handing temporary leadership to Malola. Gasps filled the boardroom. Some executives protested. Some smiled secretly, waiting for him to fail. Chief Abana spoke firmly. "Let him try." Malola felt fear rise in his chest. Running a company was not like carrying boxes. This was pressure. This was decision-making. This was responsibility for thousands of lives. Zainab said only one thing before the first board meeting. "Lead the way you learned by listening." The meeting was tense. Malola didn't pretend to know everything. Instead, he asked questions. He admitted mistakes. He delayed decisions until he understood them. Some board members scoffed. But something strange happened. Employees started trusting him, not because of his name, but because of his honesty. Then came the real test. A factory accident injured several workers. Nothing fatal, but serious enough to spark outrage. Old Damalola would have hidden behind lawyers. New Damalola did the opposite. He visited the factory himself. No cameras, no press, just him. He knelt beside injured workers. He apologized. He promised accountability. He ordered immediate safety reforms, even though they cost millions. When Chief Abena heard, he closed his eyes and exhaled deeply. "My son," he whispered, "has become a man." That evening, Damalola came home exhausted. Zainab noticed his trembling hands. "You're afraid," she said gently. "Yes," he admitted. "I'm scared of failing again." Zainab poured tea and sat beside him. "Fear means you care," she said. "Just don't let it make you cruel." Damalola looked at her, really looked at her. "You didn't marry me for money," he said. She smiled faintly. "I married a challenge, but peace never lasts long in stories like this." One night, Zainab received a phone call. Her face went pale. "What is it?" Damalola asked. She hesitated. "My mother, she's very sick." Damalola stood immediately. "We'll go." They rushed to the hospital. Machines beeped softly. Doctors spoke in low voices. Zainab's mother opened her eyes weakly. "You stayed strong," she whispered to Zainab. "And you chose well." Zainab's eyes filled with tears. Damalola held her hand. In that moment, he understood something deeply. Love was not grand gestures. It was showing up. But fate was not finished. As Zainab's mother recovered slowly, another truth surfaced. A rival businessman approached Chief Abena with proof. Zainab had known who Damalola was before the marriage. She had researched him, studied his weaknesses, understood his world. "She manipulated your son," the man sneered. "She planned everything." Chief Abena confronted Zainab privately. "Did you have a plan?" he asked. Zainab didn't lie. "Yes," she said, "but not to steal, not to control." "To change?" Chief Abena studied her face. "And if he never changed?" he asked. Zainab replied softly, "Then I would have left." The old billionaire leaned back. For the first time in years, he laughed. "Then," he said, "you are the strongest person in this family." But Damalola did not know any of this yet. And the final truth, the one that would test love, trust, and forgiveness, was still waiting to be revealed. Damalola believed he had faced his biggest challenges. But what he didn't know was this. One final truth about Zainab would either destroy their marriage or make it unbreakable. Damalola Akafer stood alone in the mansion's quiet hallway, staring at a photo on the wall. It showed him from years ago, smiling arrogantly, surrounded by luxury, empty inside. He barely recognized that man anymore. What he didn't know was that the final test of his transformation was already unfolding. That evening, Chief Abena called Damalola and Zainab into his private study. The room felt heavy. Zainab knew. Damalola didn't. Chief Abena spoke slowly. "There is something you must hear." He turned to Zainab first. "Tell him." Zainab's fingers trembled slightly, but her voice stayed steady. "I knew who you were before we married," she said. "I studied your life, your habits, your weaknesses." Damalola froze. "You planned this?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she admitted, "but not to trap you, to protect myself." Silence filled the room. Old anger tried to rise inside Damalola, but it didn't win. Instead, something else came, understanding. "You could have used me," he said. "You didn't." Zainab looked at him, eyes shining. "I didn't want your money, I wanted your humanity." Damalola exhaled deeply. "I was bought into this marriage," he said, "but I stayed by choice." He turned to his father. "Father, I don't want to be the man I was." Chief Abena smiled, a rare, proud smile. "Then you already are." Days later, Damalola made a public decision. He stood before cameras and executives. "I was raised in wealth," he said, "but I was poor in character. That changes today." He announced the creation of a foundation, not in his name, not in his father's name, but in Zainab's mother's name. The foundation focused on education, worker safety, and dignity. People were stunned. The internet reacted differently this time, not mockery, respect. At home, Zainab found Damalola packing boxes. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Moving," he said. "To where?" "A smaller house," he replied. "I don't need walls to feel important." Zainab laughed softly for the first time without holding back. They moved quietly. No headlines, no celebration, just peace. Months later, Chief Abena visited them. The mighty billionaire sat on a simple chair and watched his son cook. "Strange world," he said. "I spent my life building wealth. You spent 1 year building a soul." Damalola smiled. "I learned from my wife." Zainab squeezed his hand. One evening as the sun set, Zainab said something unexpected. "I'm pregnant." Damalola's breath caught. Tears filled his eyes. "I promise," he whispered, kneeling, "this child will inherit values, not arrogance." Zainab touched his face. "Then the plan worked." He laughed through tears. "Your plan changed generations." Years later, people would tell this story differently. Some said the billionaire bought a wife. Some said the wife changed a billionaire. But the truth was simpler. A spoiled man met a strong woman. Power met purpose. Money met meaning. And love, real love, was built, not bought. They thought wealth would control love, but kindness rewrote the legacy.